So with the ongoing war in Ukraine, a lot of people are speaking about how terrible Vladimir Putin is. But there was a man called Joseph Stalin, and even I didn't know much about this, but I have been doing my research, and he was such a terrible man, it's unbelievable. So what I want to do here, let's have a look at his life, see what he did. So, and my information is from history.com. Okay, so Joseph Stalin was born in 1878, and he was the dictator of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics from 1929 to 1953. Under Stalin, the Soviet Union was transformed from a peasant society into an industrial and military superpower. However, he ruled by terror, and millions of his own citizens died during his brutal reign. So he was born into poverty, and he became involved in revolutionary politics as well as criminal activities as a young man. So let's have a look. So Joseph Stalin was born Joseph Vissarionovich Jugashvili on December 18, 1878. Later he would claim his birthday to be 21 December 1979 in the small town of Gorgy, which is now in Georgia. Georgia, the country, and not the state. So, which was at the time part of the Russian Empire. When he was in his 30s, he took the name Stalin from the Russian for man of steel. So Stalin grew up poor and as an only child. His father was a shoemaker and an alcoholic, and he used to beat his son. His mother was a laundress. As a boy, Stalin contracted smallpox, which left him with lifelong facial scars. So as a teen, he earned a scholarship to attend a seminary in the nearby city of Tbilisi and wanted to become a priest in the Georgian Orthodox Church. While there, he began secretly reading books written by Karl Marx. And he said that this encouraged him to become a revolutionary. In 1899, Stalin was expelled from the seminary for missing exams, although he later claimed it was for his Marxist views. After leaving school, Stalin became an underground political agitator, taking part in labor demonstrations and strikes. He met Vladimir Lenin, the leader of the Bolshevik movement, and at the time he got involved in criminal activities, including robbing banks in order to fund the communists and the Bolshevik Party in Russia. Because of these crimes he was involved in, he was imprisoned and exiled to Siberia multiple times between 1902 and 1913. So in 1912, Lenin, then in exile in Switzerland, appointed Joseph Stalin to serve on the first Central Committee of the Bolshevik Party. 3 years later, in November 1917, the Bolsheviks seized power in Russia. The Soviet Union was founded in 1922 with Lenin as its first leader. During these years, Stalin had continued to move up the party ladder, and in 1922 he became Secretary General of the Central Committee of the Communist Party, a role that enabled him to appoint his allies to government jobs and to grow a base of political support. After Lenin died in 1924, Stalin eventually outmaneuvered his rivals and won the power struggle for control of the Communist Party. By the late 1920s, he had become dictator of the Soviet Union. So starting then in the late 1920s, Joseph Stalin launched a series of 5-year plans intended to transform the Soviet Union from a peasant society into an industrial superpower. His development plan was centered on government control of the economy and included the forced collectivization of Soviet agriculture, in which the government took control of farms. Millions of farmers refused to cooperate with Stalin's orders and were shot or exiled as punishment. The forced collectivization campaign also led to widespread famine across the Soviet Union that killed millions. So Stalin ruled by terror and with a totalitarian grip in order to eliminate anyone who might oppose him. He expanded the powers of the secret police, encouraged citizens to spy on one another, and had millions of people killed or sent to the Gulag system of forced labor camps. During the second half of the 1930s, Stalin instituted the Great Purge, a series of campaigns designated to rid the Communist Party, the military, and other parts of Soviet society from those he considered a threat. Additionally, Stalin built a cult of personality around himself in the Soviet Union. Cities were renamed in his honor, Soviet history books were rewritten to give him a more prominent role in the revolution, and mythologize other aspects of his life. He was the subject of flattering artwork, literature, and music, and his name became part of the Soviet national anthem. He censored photographs in an attempt to rewrite history, removing former associates executed during his many purges. His government also controlled the Soviet media. In 1939, on the eve of World War II, Joseph Stalin and German dictator Adolf Hitler signed the German-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact. Stalin then proceeded to annex parts of Poland and Romania as well as the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. He also launched an invasion of Finland. Then, in June 1941, Germany broke the Nazi-Soviet pact and invaded the USSR, making significant early inroads. Stalin had ignored warnings from the Americans and the British as well as his own intelligence agents about a potential invasion, and the Soviets were not prepared for war. As German troops approached the Soviet capital of Moscow, Stalin remained there and directed a scorched earth defense policy, destroying any supplies or infrastructure that might benefit the enemy. The tide turned for the Soviets with the Battle of Stalingrad from August 1942 to February 1943, during which the Red Army defeated the Germans and eventually drove them from Russia. As the war progressed, Stalin participated in the major Allied conferences, including those in Tehran in 1943 and Yalta in 1945. His iron will and deft political skills enabled him to play the loyal ally while never abandoning his vision of an expanded post-war Soviet empire. Joseph Stalin did not mellow with age. He prosecuted a reign of terror, purges, executions, exiles, and labor camps, and persecution in the post-war USSR, suppressing all dissent and anything that smacked of foreign, especially Western influence. He established a communist government communist governments throughout Eastern Europe, and in 1949 led the Soviets into the nuclear age by exploding an atomic bomb. In 1950, he gave North Korea's communist leader Kim Il-sung permission to invade the United States-supported South Korea, an event that triggered the Korean War. Stalin, who grew increasingly paranoid in his later years, died on March 5, 1953 at age 74 after suffering a stroke. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you very much.